In this third episode of the Insights to Impact podcast, Reach Alliance celebrates International Youth Day by inviting three of Reach Alliance's global delegates for the 2024 AFS Youth Assembly in New York. Co-hosting this episode, we have Reach alumni Jason Tian from UofT, and joining us in this conversation, we have Christian Narth Fiergbor from Ashesi University and Reach Researcher Elizabeth Lubinda from the University of Cape Town to discuss the upcoming AFS Youth Assembly and the importance of youth leadership in these spaces.
My name is Jason Tian. I am a PhD student at the University of Toronto. I was on the team Rwanda in 2022. So we were looking at a financial inclusion project. I also had the privilege of being a part of the first cohort of international students to be sent to the Youth Assembly. We went last year to New York with 9 people from all the different partner universities. It's an international gathering of youth, all aiming to address the Sustainable Development Goals. Some of us are coming back to the Youth Assembly for this year. This time we are leading a talk or a workshop. It'll be about the Reach experience. It'll be about doing case study research, and it'll also highlight, or it'll use a piece that we wrote as an example. We just wrote a piece on the hard to reach and how they respond to climate problems. And that just got released in a journal called Global Policy. And so we'll use that as an example of what we do at Reach. I'm also joined by my fellow Reach alumni and this year's Youth Assembly delegates, Christian from Ashesi University and Elizabeth from the University of Cape Town. Do you care to both introduce yourselves?
Yeah, so my name is Christian Narth Fiergbor. I'm currently in my third year studying business administration at Ashesi University in Ghana. I was privileged to be part of the first cohort of researchers from Ashesi University in 2022. Case study we worked on was on the topic, the no bed syndrome in Ghanaian tertiary hospitals. And basically what we did in that research was to sort of map out the causes as well as the effect and all the other stakeholders involved in the issue of shortage of beds in Ghanaian tertiary hospitals, get to understand how it affects the average Ghanaian citizen, how it makes the issue of healthcare access complicated in the Ghanaian setting, and also recommend some policies that policymakers could adopt in addressing the issue.
Can't wait to meet you too. As Jason had mentioned, my name is Elizabeth Lubinda. I am from the University of Cape Town. Just completed my master's, specializing in public health, epidemiology, and biostatistics. I am part of the Reach Alliance network, working on a case study that focuses on how private healthcare models can address the needs of underserved communities in Southern Africa with a focus on South Africa. And it's my first time attending the Youth Assembly. I'm so excited.
Like you said, this will be both of your first times attending the Youth Assembly. Why do you think that spaces like these are important for youth and youth leadership?
Platforms like this give the youth an opportunity to voice out their thoughts about issues at the national level and even at the global or international level that affect especially the youth. Because if you look at it, most policies, take it or leave it, has some sort of impact, large impact on the youth.
The truth is that we will be the future leaders. We youth, obviously the people that will attend the AF and also people that will see the blog post from the AF will kind of have some impact on the future leadership spaces. They give us the torch, and one thing with we youth is that once you give us the torch and a good environment, we'll take it to the finish line.
I've been to many conferences, and usually on these panels of experts, it's all quite, it's well accomplished or established people in their careers. But you'll see when you attend, every single panel is filled with young people, like they are the experts. What you see when you're there is that young people are ready now to make a big impact on the SDGs. We need to utilize the youth workforce better. So, why do you think it's important for policymakers and other stakeholders to pay attention to youth leaders and actively support their development within these sustainable spaces?
I don't know if Christian, you know it, the Jim Leach Mastercard Fellowship.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Yes, and you listen to the innovative ideas these, for instance, East Africans, oh my goodness, but they just don't have that financial capacity to push that. So if policymakers or stakeholders can, one, encourage us to join or to have a seat at the table, they'll be in touch with what needs to be done. Secondly, there'll be community trust, because there's one thing, you can be voicing out issues, but maybe the people you're trying to voice those solutions to don't really trust you because, oh, she's a youth. She's maybe just 25, you know.
Elizabeth, I think as you were talking, you made some good points that brought something to mind. So I mean, for on the African continent, generally what happens is that if you are young, you are not really expected to contribute to decision makings to some extent. And it even
Yes.
happens in our homes, right from our homes, right? Where your mom or your dad takes a decision and you can't necessarily challenge the decision that the person has taken. It's like you are young, so you don't have to talk. And that has been something that has been eating up the continent for so long.
I have maybe, all this whole conversation reminded me of somebody who asked a question at the Youth Assembly last year. And I wonder if you guys could weigh in on this actually, because this was super interesting. Somebody asked, what would you say to a youth who's feeling a little bit hampered or struggling? They want to make an impact, but they're feeling sort of blocked by some of these structural factors. What would you say to someone who's struggling like that?
It all depends on your commitment to whatever you are doing. Of course, it is just normal that if you want to cause or make an impact, some sort of pushback that you would actually experience. But then things like this are able to pull through, and when they do, they become so strong as a result of your ability to be able to persistently and consistently do what you are doing. Eventually, no one might even care initially because, I mean, you are just doing your something somewhere, but just get to understand that that little thing you are doing is contributing to addressing global issues, and you are doing it at the local level. And so it's the momentum with which you keep doing it, regardless of whatever happens, regardless of who is watching, who is observing, who is paying attention, who is commending you, whatsoever. All is focus on what you are doing and keep doing it. And eventually it will make sense one day.
Yes, that's true. And also another thing, I think we as youth leaders should stop looking at numbers, you know? Look at what value is being given to whoever receives it. For instance, um, okay, I co-founded the Masco Foundation. So when we were just starting, oh my goodness, the reach was so small. Like, you like post up something and the engagement is like two people, three people, and you're like, oh my goodness, what do we want? Oh my goodness, what is society thinking? We've literally blown up this thing. We're youth leaders. We're trying to do this, but the more we did it, the commitment. I don't know if it's our own. Maybe it's the universe giving back to the energy you put out. The numbers just increased, and you're like, okay, imagine if we stopped at two, that two people engagement, we wouldn't have amassed the following we have, or our voices wouldn't have reached those youth or even those ministries.
That was the overall sentiment as well from people at the Youth Assembly. The amount of effort and the amount of resiliency that some of these youth needed to display to get the solutions or to get to where they were was just quite remarkable. Coming back to policymakers or stakeholders, and this is one of the big things that we have to address is the amount of resistance that persists when a young person wants to make a difference in general. Thank you both. I think we're just beginning to end off now. So do you both have any closing comments?
So to young people, change makers and advocates, keep speaking up and taking up space, no matter how small your voice may seem. You never know who might hear it and be inspired. And just another remark to leaders in power, please understand that we, the youth, are eager to engage in peaceful and constructive dialogue. Our advocacy for change should not be met with violence or resistance. Remember, we are all connected, and our actions today shape the future.
All right. To add up to that, I would say, first of all, it is important that as a youth, you must be interested in issues of national development. And of course, you must be interested in seeing to it that problems are solved. So at the local level, find something doing that is contributing to the global landscape of solutions. Just ensure that in your own little way, you are contributing to addressing key issues within our society. And we shouldn't also limit ourselves in terms of getting to let our voice heard. Wherever we find ourselves, whatever conferences we are attending, in our various classrooms, in our various hostels, at our various workplaces, we need to let people know what we think about issues. We need to let people know the ideas we have about issues, and that will gradually contribute to a significant impact in the world we find ourselves in.
Thank you both. I mean, I think I echo both of your sentiments. And, I would say just as young people, it's super important to be knowledgeable about some of the issues that we're facing as all around the world. And, having the belief that you can make a difference as well. And so hopefully on this International Youth Day, it kind of gives you a bit of a prompt to look and understand about some of these things. That's it for us today. So thank you, Elizabeth and Christian, for this very insightful discussion. And I look forward to seeing you both at the Youth Assembly.